Hey guys, welcome back to Carsonian Beans, and today we got NFL Week 4 score predictions. This is going to be all 15 games, was 16, but now that the Titans-Steelers game has been postponed, it's only going to be 15, and I just want to talk about that for a split second, not very long. I'll be switching over to another screen really quickly, but that kind of scares me because we've only had 3 weeks of play already, and already a team has gotten so many players, has such a big outbreak that they've already had to, postpone a game further. Um, and so that's kind of scary because is this going to happen again? And I think the answer is yes. I think this is probably going to happen again. And seeing as only week 3, I think it's going to happen a lot. And if it happens again, it's probably going to be a time where a team has an outbreak and they don't know, and then they go on, because we've seen how bad the NFL's testing can be. They go on the field and then they infect the other team. So I am really, really scared for what this kind of foreshadows. But let's go ahead and get going. So the first game is going to be the Thursday night game in between the Jets and the Broncos. That should be coming on just like a few hours after I post this video. So, yeah, this is going to be a pretty good game. You have the Jets, who are led by Sam Darnold, and then going up against the Brett Rippon led Broncos. and to be honest, I can't figure out who's better because Brett Rippon, he didn't play too bad last week. He had eight completions for 9 attempts, 1 interception, which I'm pretty sure was just like him throwing the ball up in the air, like basically just throwing it up to be caught. It really didn't mean anything. So right now, this is gonna be a pretty good game. You have Sam Darnold, and here's a deal. Here's something that I don't think I've heard anyone talk about. If you look at the Jets depth chart, who do they have one of their backup quarterbacks? Joe Flacco. In my opinion, Joe Flacco is a better quarterback than Sam Darnold. So all I'm saying is that if Sam Darnold keeps playing the way he's playing, Joe Flacco could end up being in there. So Joe Flacco's kind of still got him some hope for his career. But for now, you got to look at this Broncos defense. I think it's way better than the Jets offense. I think this is really a battle of two terrible offenses, and I just think that the Broncos defense is going to be able to do a bit better than the Jets. And I think they get the win by 1 point here, 14-13. Really, it's going to be a good game, but it's also just going to be a sad game to watch. Just watching two terrible teams go at it. But who knows? Maybe it could be a blowout in the Broncos' favor. I don't see it being a blowout in the Jets' favor, but who knows? All right, now moving on to the Sunday games. You have the Lions versus the Saints. The Lions, they got a win. Finally, the first time since last October that they have gotten a win. So yeah, the Lions, they're looking pretty good. I didn't think they'd do much with Adrian Peterson, but they put Adrian Peterson out there, and he's been getting yards. He's been playing really, really well. Adrian Peterson has been a real surprising player on this Lions team. And while the Saints, they have been playing, really, they should be 2-1. There was some pretty bad reffing in that Packers game. But we're going to pretend that didn't happen. They've been playing kind of off. They lost to the Packers, who are playing really, really well. They also lost to the Raiders, but of course that was Monday night. So I think it might be a bit closer, but 24-34 is what I think it could be. And I know that's not close, but it is probably a lot closer than a lot of other people would have it going. Right now, the Saints are going to win this game, in my opinion. I think it'll be kind of like a little bounce back. They'll go 2-2. Maybe they'll take the division back from the Buccaneers if they manage to lose. We'll see what happens. Next up, we have Buccaneers versus Chargers. Speak of it. The Buccaneers, we saw finally last week, we saw Tom Brady go in there and do something. Week 1, they were kind of a mess. Week 2, it was all about the running game. And finally, week 3, they go out there and they got a win on the back of Tom Brady. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions in that game. Tom Brady played really well, so I feel like now they're a full team. And the Chargers, it's going to take a lot for them to win this game. Justin Herbert, he came out in his week 1 debut, not week 1, but his first starting job a couple weeks ago, week 2, and he played really, really well against a really, really tough, in my opinion, underrated Chiefs defense. And, he played really well. And then he comes out in week 2 and he goes against a pretty weak Panthers defense and he plays worse. He doesn't play bad in any, he looked like a pretty good quarterback out there, but he manages to lose against the Panthers when he really was supposed to win. So right now, I'm not much feeling the Chargers. The Buccaneers, I feel like they're more put together, and I'm going to have to hand it to them. I think it could be pretty close. I feel like we have seen Justin Herbert play pretty well, and I feel like he could carry it over in this game. It's just the fact that, the Buccaneers, they are so talented, and they have so many, that offense is spectacular. Next up, we have the Bengals versus the Jaguars. Really a pretty good game between, I mean, two teams that, in my opinion, we don't know where they're going, because the Jaguars, their first 2 games were great. Minshew magic was on full display. This most recent game, it was a bit worse, but they still look pretty good. The Bengals, they've looked good. They've looked consistent. Joe Burrow is playing like a veteran quarterback. He is not looking like what a normal veteran. Normally when you see a rookie go out there, he isn't like playing like a veteran. He's normally making bad passes and normally throwing a lot of interceptions. That's not what Joe Burrow is doing. So right now, we're going to see, can the Jaguars bounce back? Can the Bengals keep it going? Can Joe Burrow get his first win? And my answer to that is no. I think the Jaguars are able to pull this one out. James Robinson has another pretty good game. That's another thing. James Robinson has been really the X factor for the Jaguars. I didn't expect much coming out of him. And then they go into this season, and they're doing really, really well. I thought they were dumb for letting go Leonard Fournette, and now apparently they have James Robinson, who is a really, really good rookie and was a really, really good pickup this offseason. Next game we're going to talk about, Texans versus the Vikings. The Texans, they've had a pretty rough first 3 games. They had 3 of some of the best teams in the league back to back to back, and now they're going up against another 0. Both of these teams are 0-3, and both of these teams, I think, especially if you look at the way the Vikings played last week, I think they are better than 0-3. I mean, the Vikings, they kept it really, really close with the Titans, and I mean, the Texans, I mean, I can't really blame them for those first 2 games. They did kind of underperform, but still, I think that the way they have been playing, while worse than I thought they would play, is definitely better than 0-3. But right now, looking at the Vikings, their defense has been playing so terribly, and right now the Texans, they just need to go up against a terrible defense. They've gone up against the Chiefs, Ravens, and Steelers defense, and they go up against a pretty lackluster defense in the Vikings. So I think this is a really good matchup for the Texans, and I think they get the 8-point win here. They finally get the win they want. They go 1-3. The Vikings, they'll be 0-4. One of these teams is going to be 0-4, and I really think both of these teams are, like, looking at the way they played, I think they deserve to be 1-3, 2-2. That's where I think these teams are, talent-wise. But right now, one of them is going to come out 0-4, and that's really not going to look good looking at the rest of this season. But one of them is going to come out 1-3 and kind of amping it up, and that is the Texans, because I just think they're a bit of a step above. I think their defense is a lot better than the Vikings, and that offense is more consistent. Next up, we have the Dolphins versus the Seahawks. We've seen, I mean, Russell Wilson has been absolutely amazing. I mean, he's gotten like 5 touchdowns every single game. He's gotten over 30. I mean, I think he's averaging like 36 fantasy points a game. The man is a beast. And then you add to that, I mean, and then you look at the freaking, you look at the Falcons. What the heck was that? Not the Falcons, but you look at the Dolphins. Sorry, something in my room fell. I don't know if you could hear that, but something in my room fell. You look at the Dolphins. Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's had 2 pretty good games in a row, okay? In my opinion, I think that, I mean, we've seen that. He's had 2 pretty good games. We saw that last week, and we saw that the week before. He got his first win against the Jaguars, and the week before that, even though he was going up against the Bills, he still managed to put up some good points. So I think the Dolphins, while we've seen Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's pretty inconsistent. I think this may be a pretty good game for him, but still, I think it's going to be a blowout. Just a complete blowout. I mean, you've seen, I'm seeing 5-6 touchdowns for Russell Wilson. They're going to let him cook, especially with Chris Carson questionable, Carlos Hyde questionable. Their 2 main running backs questionable. I think this is going to be a big game for Russell Wilson, even looking at all the games he's had beforehand. And I honestly think, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Geno Smith come out at quarterback at this point. I mean, like 20 points. I know I just said that Fitzpatrick is going to be pretty good, but when you're going up against a really tough Seahawks defense with the team that you have with the Dolphins, I think 20 points is pretty good, especially for Ryan Fitzpatrick. So I think a good positive that comes out of here is Ryan Fitzpatrick plays really well, which is a good thing because right now Tagovailoa is questionable, which is not good, but. And to add to this, I'm just going to go ahead and put this as my lock of the week real quick. Just because, 42-20 is pretty convincing. This is the game that I'm most sure on, more sure than any other game that is happening this week. And, I mean, I just could not see the Dolphins winning this game. And we've seen the Seahawks beat some really good teams. Coming up next, if it'll let me click, there we go. We have the Cowboys versus the Browns. We have seen the Cowboys really, really disappointing thus far. Ezekiel Elliott has been, in my opinion, underperforming. And Dak Prescott, he's actually been, in the past 2 games, he's played pretty well. He threw for over 400 yards in both of them. It's just that he's not finishing drives very well, and they're coming up short. The Browns, though, they had a pretty bad first game, which we saw last year whenever they got beat by like 20 points against the Marcus Mariota-led Titans. This year they come out, they lose really badly in the first game, and then they beat 2 pretty bad teams, and now they go up against the Cowboys. And in my opinion, the Browns, I mean, they are a very good team, and they do have lots of talent. We saw last week, Baker Mayfield kind of took off, was passing like crazy. And I don't know, and especially with that 2-headed monster at running back with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, who is questionable. We're just going to assume that he's going to play. Really, this offense is insane right now, and we've seen how badly the Cowboys defense has been playing. And this offense, even though I just said, oh yeah, Dak Prescott's been playing for over 400 yards each game, look at the Falcons doing that kind of same thing. I feel like the Browns can go out here and they can get the win. I think it's a pretty high-scoring game, but I feel like, especially with Dak Prescott scoring lots of points, but I feel like this Browns defense can kind of contain that, and I feel like their offense can get going, and they can score 38-34. And now, if this happens, no matter what, the Washington football team will still be number 1 in the NFC East, which is just crazy to think about. But right now, it's looking like the Browns are probably going to win, and that is just kind of sad. Coming up after that, we have the Panthers versus the Cardinals. We saw the Panthers, we saw especially Teddy Bridgewater come out and really play really well against the Chargers. Teddy Bridgewater was playing like crazy. He's really taking advantage of the great wide receiver duo he has in DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, possibly even a trio with Curtis Samuel. And right now, even with Christian McCaffrey injured, they are playing. I think they're playing better. Last week was their best game, and we kind of all think it would be the worst. So right now, I think they're playing pretty well if they can keep it up against the Cardinals. The Cardinals, on the other hand, last week was their worst game. 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. It didn't look very good. Kyler Murray had a pretty bad game, but I think he will step it up in this game and kind of reclaim his throne. I think he gets the win by 13 points here. I do think that, Teddy Bridgewater, he continues doing his success. I think what they'll do this game is that they know that they have Teddy Bridgewater. They have seen now, because they were wondering through the first 2 games probably, did we make the right choice in picking Teddy Bridgewater? I know already that, Cam Newton's better, but still, is he going to work out for our future? And now that they know that, yes, if he keeps on playing the way he did last week, he probably will, I think they're going to try to let Mike Davis run the ball a lot. That's their running back. I think they're going to hand him the ball a lot just to see what they have in him to get prepared for these next couple of weeks without Christian McCaffrey. And I think that's kind of going to be their downfall, because I don't think Mike Davis is very good, and I think we're going to see not necessarily a blowout. I could definitely see it being like 27-21. And then the Cardinals scoring a touchdown with like 2 seconds left or something. But right now, I think that the Cardinals get the 13-point win, and the Panthers fall to 1-3. Next up, we have the Bears versus the Colts. The Bears might be the worst 3-0 team in NFL history. I don't know. He was a team that was absolutely monstrous and all 3 teams forfeited or something. But now that the Bears have put in Nick Foles, they have gotten exponentially better. They were down 26-10 in the beginning of the 4th quarter, and then Nick Foles comes out and he does what he's best at, and that is coming back. Meanwhile, the Colts, after that pretty disappointing Week 1 performance against the Jaguars, they've come out, and now Philip Rivers has gotten more entrenched into this offense. They have looked really well over these past couple weeks, especially that amazing defense. So this could be a pretty good game. However, I do think that the Colts will win. I think that, the Bears, they are going to score 31 points. Maybe it's 28-31, and Philip Rivers has to lead last 2 minutes left. He leads a 2-minute long drive, goes down there, scores a touchdown, something like this. I think it's going to be a pretty close game, but I do think that the Colts will get the win. And, the Bears, let's be honest, Bears fans, even you guys had to know, you weren't going to be undefeated forever. So right now, the Colts will go up to 3-1, and the Bears will fall down to 3-1, and yeah. That's what I think will happen. Coming up next, we have the Washington football team against the Baltimore Ravens. Ooh. Looking at the way that they played last week, the Washington football team, their offense really underperformed, in my opinion. Even looking at what we've seen, in Week 2 and what we've seen last year, they still underperformed, in my opinion. Dwayne Haskins, he won his first 2 games, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and that was kind of what we expected, but I mean, well, that wasn't what we expected. We expected that touchdown-wise, but interceptions-wise, he didn't have any, and that was really surprising. He goes into this game, he throws 2 touchdowns, but then he also throws 3 interceptions, all while staring down his receivers. So right now, the Washington football team is in a kind of bad place, because right now what they need to do is they need to see, can Dwayne Haskins adapt? Can he look and can he say, look, I was staring down my receivers. I need to stop doing that. He needs to take this week that he had, and he has to sit there. He has had to sit there and say, don't stare down your receivers. Don't stare down your receivers, Dwayne. And maybe I think he'll kind of improve from that just a bit. But if he doesn't, and if he continues to get bad and he never learns from his mistakes over these next couple of weeks, and they end up being like 2-6 at one point, I think Alex Smith will end up being in there. But right now we're talking about this, and just looking at, I mean, their defense, they lost Chase Young for at least this week. He'll probably be back next week. Definitely back in their Week 6 game, I'm pretty sure. Matt Ioannidis, though, might be one of their best defensive linemen, though, is injured, and right now that's not a good sign for them. They do get Kendall Fuller back like they did last week. So right now they kind of got a bit of a banged-up defense, but I do still think that they are able to keep it close, but in the end, I think the Cardinals win 38-27. By close, I mean not like Dolphins Seahawks. I think this will be closer than a lot of people think. A lot of people are probably thinking that it's going to be a complete and total blowout, and for all I know it is. But right now I'm feeling 38-27. The Baltimore Ravens win the battle of the Beltway or whatever. So yeah, Washington, they fall to 1-3, and if my predictions go the way that I think they are, right now they're looking like they're going to win the NFC East coming out of Week 4, which would be insane to see a 1-3 team at the top of a division. But I mean, I guess now we're seeing that it is possible. Okay, next we have the Rams versus the Giants. The Rams have been looking really, really good. Their defense has been playing like insane, like even better than I were, and I was pretty hyped up about them in the offseason. Darrell Henderson, though, I was talking about how good he was, and then he comes out in Week 3 and he plays great. I'm feeling like, yes, finally, I'm being proved right for once. I mean, look at the Giants. They lost 36-9 to Nick Mullins. It's not going to be a good. I mean, what do I have to say right now? The Rams are just going to crush them. I could definitely see it being, 34-6, and then the Giants fail a 2-point conversion, or I could just see them, kicking 3 field goals, and no, it's not 3 field goals, 4 field goals, and that being it. But it's whatever. Next up, we have Chiefs versus Patriots, a 4:00 game. The Chiefs last week completely blew out the Ravens. Oh, I never even talked about the Ravens when I was talking about the Washington Ravens game. Who knows? The Chiefs, they completely blew out the Ravens they haven't blown them out, but Patrick Mahomes is undefeated against the Ravens, I'm pretty sure. And right now, they're looking like a really, really good team. They're looking like the best team in football right now with that great defense. The Patriots are looking pretty good, but, I mean, we've seen Cam Newton make some bad decisions. He's, we saw, especially on that 1-yard play against Seattle, they've been trusting him to get some places that he can't. If that makes any sense at all. And right now, I'm just feeling like the Chiefs can get a win here. Pretty close game, but I definitely feel like the Chiefs could win. And also, I could see it being another situation like against Seattle where, it's 34-24 and the Patriots get a touchdown, and then, Cam Newton misses the 1-yard run. I would laugh so hard if that happens. But yeah, I mean, we've seen the Chiefs have been completely surprising me, especially with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, people were kind of, bashing on him because they drafted a running back in the first round, and now all of a sudden he's one of the best running backs in the league right now. Well, not one of the best, but he is playing really, really well. Next, we have Raiders versus the Bills. The Raiders, they had a really good game. I mean, they beat the Saints on Monday Night Football. That's something to be proud about. But last week the Raiders, they had a pretty good game. They did lose, so that's pretty bad. The Bills they didn't lose by a lot. They lost to the Patriots by like 16 points. So right now it's looking like Monday Night Football may have been a bit of a fluke, but who knows? The Bills, on the other hand, Josh Allen has been looking insane. I mean, if he keeps this up, he could become a Hall of Fame quarterback. He played absolutely spectacular. The Bills' defense, of course, has been, holding down the fort, playing really, really well. And the Raiders right now, I don't see how they could possibly win this. I see the Bills coming out with a 3-point victory here, 31-28. I know I'm saying all these weird things, but I could definitely see it being 31-3, and then the Raiders come back. No, I'm joking. Probably won't happen. Oh, Sunday Night Football, 49ers versus the Eagles. Sadly for the Eagles, this is going to be a pretty good game. You have the 49ers who are completely banged up, who just beat the... And another sad thing for the Eagles, people are struggling to see if... Because right now it's looking like the Eagles and the Giants are at the bottom of the NFC East. Really, all four of these teams at the bottom of the NFC East. I mean, there's no good teams in the NFC East right now. But right now, the Eagles and the Giants are looking like who's going to be the worst team in the NFC East, and that is really sad. The 49ers, though, they did manage to beat the Giants, but the Eagles are a completely different team. You look at the Giants. Since they lost Saquon Barkley, they had to heavily focus on passing the ball, and with Daniel Jones at quarterback, that wasn't very good. The Eagles, though, we have seen Miles Sanders, especially last week, kind of take over here, especially now they've seen how bad Carson Wentz can play. Miles Sanders, we've seen him, they kind of run the ball a lot, and the 49ers, this could kind of be a weak spot. I want to say one thing about that, kind of just out there. Now that we're seeing how well Nick Mullins is playing with his team, could it be possible that maybe Jimmy Garoppolo isn't very good? That's all I'm saying. But hopefully they'll get Jimmy G back next week. But right now, I feel like the 49ers can get another win. Not as big as a win, again, because I do think that the Eagles are a completely different team than the Giants, especially right now, with no Saquon Barkley for the Giants. But I do still think that the 49ers managed to get another win against an NFC East team. Monday Night Football coming up next with the Packers playing the Falcons. Falcons, man, y'all keep on choking. Y'all keep on choking. 0-3. Y'all should be 2-1. What are y'all doing? I mean, right now, we've seen Matt Ryan. He's been taken off, but they just get to the end game and they fail. So I think they keep it close, but I do think that the Green Bay Packers are going to win this one. I could see, and I've said this a lot, but I could see the Falcons being like, we're beating the Packers. We're beating the Packers on Monday Night Football, and then the Packers coming back and beating them. Like, it could be 34-17 and the Packers come back. I know I'm probably getting annoying with all this, but still. So yeah, that's really all I have to say. That is all of my predictions. We do this kind of stuff every single week, including we have power rankings, we have predictions as you're watching, we have recaps, Monday night, Thursday night recaps, game previews, and reactions for all the Washington games, just because I'm a Washington fan. I like to rant about them. And yeah, we do a lot of stuff every single day of the week unless I'm busy. So, yeah, also in my description you will find links to my Twitter and Instagram where you can go follow those. I'd be very, very grateful. I have started posting on my Twitter a lot more now. I'm going to start posting during games as long as I'm sitting there watching a game and not, like, looking at the Google thing. So, yeah, I will definitely, hopefully, see you in the next one. In fact, I better see you in the next one, or else.